Listen carefully, because what we are about to discuss may explain the exhaustion in your organization. The calendars are full, meetings multiply, messages arrive faster than anyone can answer them. Every department is busy, every leader is under pressure, and everyone goes home tired. Yet when Monday comes again, the same problems are waiting. The same decisions remain unresolved. The same objectives have not moved. And what do leaders usually say? Our people must work harder. But let me tell you something. Poor results do not always prove poor effort. Sometimes they prove divided direction. You can have sincere people applying enormous energy toward different destinations. In that situation, demanding greater effort will not solve the problem. It will only accelerate the confusion. Write this down. Activity measures motion, but vision determines direction. A vehicle can have a powerful engine, a full tank, and 4 spinning wheels. But if those wheels are pulling against one another, power becomes pressure. The problem is not the absence of energy. The problem is the absence of alignment. What then is organizational movement? It is not the number of emails sent. It is not the number of meetings held. It is not how late people remain in the office. Movement is measurable advancement toward an agreed future. If the future has not been agreed upon, activity cannot be properly judged because nobody knows which activity matters. Now ask your team a difficult question. If every department completed its present agenda perfectly, would all those separate victories produce one shared result? Do not answer too quickly. If marketing wins, finance wins, operations wins, and leadership wins, but the organization does not advance, then nobody truly won. You merely created successful departments inside an unsuccessful direction. Exhaustion is not evidence of progress. Busyness is not proof of purpose. Motion is not movement unless it carries you toward the destination. So we are going to rebuild this carefully. We will define a real team. We will clarify its destination. We will connect personal gifts to corporate purpose. We will expose structural conflicts, establish accountability, and make the vision strong enough to continue beyond one leader. But before you repair the organization, you must identify what it has become. Are these people merely a crowd? Are they functioning as a committee? Or have they truly become a team? Let us define these words carefully, because many leaders use the word team for any collection of people receiving the same paycheck. First, what is a crowd? A crowd is a collection of individuals occupying the same space while pursuing private destinations. They may enter through the same door, sit beneath the same roof, and carry the same identification card, but proximity does not create unity. People waiting at an airport gate are close together, but they are not necessarily going to the same place. Secondly, what is a committee? A committee is a group gathered around a common concern. It can analyze, debate, recommend, and produce a very impressive document, sometimes a document so impressive that nobody dares to implement it. A committee may share a subject without sharing responsibility. Everyone participates in the conversation, but nobody is finally accountable for the outcome. Now, what is a team? Write this down. A team is a group of different people who have accepted one destination, understand their dependence upon one another, and measure victory by one shared result. Notice that definition. Different people, one destination, mutual dependence, shared measurement. Think about an engine. The battery does not behave like the transmission. The piston does not perform the work of the radiator. Each component has a private function, but every function serves the movement of one vehicle. Imagine the steering system deciding to travel east while the wheels decide to travel west. That is not creativity. That is breakdown. Difference is necessary. Disconnection is dangerous. This is why unity must never be confused with uniformity. Uniformity demands that everyone look alike, think alike, and work alike. Unity permits different gifts, personalities, and methods to cooperate under one governing purpose. A genuine team does not erase distinction. It directs distinction. No great assignment is completed by one gift. One person may receive and articulate the vision, but many people must discover where their abilities fit within it. The leader is not the whole engine. The leader is responsible for ensuring that the whole engine knows where it is going. So ask your organization 3 questions. First, where are we going? Second, Why is each function necessary to getting there? Third, what evidence will prove that we are moving? If your people cannot answer those questions consistently, you may have organized proximity, but you do not yet have alignment. Everybody say this. Shared space creates a group. Shared vision creates a team. Say it again because titles can deceive you. Shared space creates a group. Shared vision creates a team. But be careful. A group may answer all three questions with polished language and still remain divided. People can repeat the same slogan while imagining completely different futures. And that is the next danger we must expose. Imagine a leadership meeting where everyone is nodding. The speaker says, "We believe in excellence." Everybody agrees. We are committed to growth. More agreement. We exist to make an impact through service. Now the room feels inspired. But ask 5 people what excellence means, and you may receive 5 answers. To one person, growth means more revenue. To another, it means more customers. To another, it means better quality. To another, it means hiring more staff. To another, it means entering a new market. They repeated the same words, but they did not see the same future. Write this down. Agreement in language is not necessarily agreement in vision. This is where we must distinguish mission from vision. Mission explains the broad reason the organization exists. Vision identifies the particular future the organization has accepted responsibility to produce in a specific season. Mission says, this is why we are here. Vision says, this is what we must now build. A mission may endure for generations. A vision must become concrete enough to direct the present. Very important, vision is specific. If your statement can accommodate every attractive opportunity, it cannot help you choose among them. A vision without boundaries gives everyone permission to pursue what interests them and call it alignment. In other words, fog creates freedom without coordination. As long as resources are plentiful, the confusion may remain hidden. But when 2 departments need the same money, the same people, or the same week on the calendar, their private visions collide. The conflict did not begin when the budget became tight. The budget merely exposed what the language had concealed. So how does a leader remove the fog? First, name the people you have been assigned to serve. Second, name the condition that must change. Third, describe the result the organization must produce. Fourth, define the boundaries of the present assignment, what you will do and what you will refuse. Fifth, identify the evidence that will show the work is complete or advancing. Consider a damaged structure being rebuilt. The workers do not coordinate merely because they all believe rebuilding is good. They coordinate because they know what is being restored, why the restoration matters, which portion each person owns, and what the completed structure must be able to do. One repairs an entrance. Another restores support. Another secures the perimeter. Their tasks differ, but the finished picture governs them all. Now perform this exercise with your leadership team. Remove the promotional language. No impressive phrases. No words that could belong to 1,000 other organizations. Ask every leader to complete one sentence. In this season, our organization exists to produce this specific change for these specific people. Then compare the answers. If they conflict, do not correct the grammar. Correct the alignment. You have not discovered a vocabulary problem. You have discovered that your people are building different futures. Clarity is not decoration for a website. Clarity is the first operating system of coordinated work. When people can see the same destination, their different gifts can finally move together. But seeing the destination is only the beginning. The leader must convert that picture into priorities, boundaries, and decisions, because a vision that cannot govern choices remains only a dream. A leader's first responsibility is not to keep everybody busy. It is to protect the destination from confusion. The leader must translate the vision so clearly that people can make sound decisions even when the leader is not in the room. Write this chain down. Vision defines the destination. Priorities identify what matters now. Boundaries identify what will not be pursued. Sequence determines what must happen first. Measures reveal whether the organization is advancing. That is how a picture becomes a plan. Many organizations have vision statements, but no hierarchy of decisions. Everything is urgent. Every proposal receives attention. Every new opportunity becomes another project. Soon the organization is carrying 20 good ideas and completing none of them. You were not created to meet every need. Neither was your organization. You were designed to address a particular need through a particular assignment. The inability to decide does not preserve opportunity. It distributes weakness. When money, people, and attention are spread across too many directions, sincere workers become ineffective. Now listen carefully. A good opportunity may still be the wrong assignment. A proposal can be admirable and still distract you. It can be profitable and still weaken you. It can be popular and still arrive in the wrong season. The question is not simply, can we do this? The question is, does this serve the future we have agreed to build? Every major initiative should pass through 5 questions. First, does it directly serve our defined future? Second, is it necessary in this season? Third, what must be delayed, reduced, or stopped to support it? Fourth, who possesses the authority to make the final decision? Fifth, what observable change should this initiative produce? That third question makes leaders uncomfortable because every yes has a cost. Resources committed in one direction are unavailable somewhere else. A priority that costs nothing is merely a preference. And the fourth question is equally important. Responsibility and authority must remain together. If a person is accountable for a result but has no authority to make the required decisions, you have created frustration. If 2 people can give final instructions over the same work, you have designed conflict into the organization. Your staff will spend more time interpreting power than fulfilling purpose. Clarify who recommends. Clarify who contributes. Clarify who must be consulted. But above all, clarify who decides. Now, methods must remain flexible. Principles are preserved. Methods are adapted. A department should not imitate the leader's personality. A successor should not become a copy of the founder. Different conditions may require different tools, language, and tactics. What must remain stable is the governing purpose, the ethical boundary, and the shared definition of success. This is how vision becomes executable. It moves from the wall into the budget, from the slogan into the schedule, from the speech into the decision. Everybody say, vision chooses the destination, disciplined decisions move us toward it. Say it once more. Vision chooses the destination. Disciplined decisions move us toward it. But even the best plan cannot execute itself. A destination becomes powerful only when the people responsible for carrying it understand where their own gifts belong. So now we must make the vision personal without allowing it to become private. There are 2 dangerous ideas that destroy teams. The first says the founder is the only important person. The second says everybody must become a smaller version of the founder. Both are wrong. The person who first receives and articulates the vision carries a unique responsibility for guarding its direction. But unique responsibility does not mean exclusive importance. No great assignment is completed by one person. A vision may begin in one mind, but it reaches fulfillment through many gifts. Write this down. Leadership gives direction. Teamwork supplies dimension. An engine teaches this principle beautifully. The battery remains a battery. The transmission remains a transmission. The cooling system does not become insecure because it is not holding the steering wheel. Every part preserves its identity while submitting its operation to the purpose of the whole. Private function and corporate cooperation are not enemies. You do not lose your uniqueness when your gift serves a larger vision. Your uniqueness finally becomes useful. This is why role clarity is a form of dignity. People take ownership when they can answer 4 questions. What result do I own? Why does that result matter to the vision? Whose work do I depend upon? Who depends upon mine? If a person cannot answer those questions, you may have assigned labor without communicating value. A job description usually lists activities. Prepare this report, contact these clients, manage this process. Role clarity goes deeper. It identifies the contribution, the authority, the relationships, and the expected result. A job description says what you do. Role clarity explains why your work must exist. Without that clarity, people normally move in one of 2 directions. Some become passive. They wait for permission because they are afraid of crossing an invisible boundary. Others become territorial. They duplicate work, protect information, and compete for recognition because they do not know how their value is established. Then the organization mistakes insecurity for a personality problem when it may actually be a design problem. History remembers visible leaders, but every major assignment depended upon people whose names were rarely celebrated. Deliverance required administrators, social order required judges. Rebuilding required planners, suppliers, guards, and workers assigned to different portions. Public achievement was carried by private faithfulness. The person organizing resources may never give the speech, but the speech may never happen without that person. The one maintaining the system may never appear in the photograph, but everyone in the photograph depends on the system working. Leaders do not merely hand people tasks, meet with them, help each person see how their gift connects to the shared future, what responsibility belongs to them, and what capacity they must develop next. People should not have to become you to know they matter. Everybody say, my function may be different, but my contribution is necessary. Now say it corporately. Your function may be different from mine, but our destination makes both functions necessary. That is dignity without competition and unity without erasing identity. But suppose the roles are clear and movement still stalls. Then the problem may not be on the organizational chart. It may be hidden beneath it in competing rewards, duplicated authority, and private agendas pulling against the vision. Now we come to a difficult truth. People eventually obey the system that affects their consequences. A leader may preach cooperation every Monday, but if each department is rewarded only for protecting its own numbers, competition has already been designed into the organization. The speech says work together. The system says protect yourself. And when the speech and the system disagree, the system usually wins. Write this down. What you reward becomes real. What you merely announce remains optional. Suppose one department reduces its costs by transferring unfinished work to another. Its report looks excellent, but the organization inherits delay. Another department promises rapid delivery, but operations absorbs the risk. One function celebrates success because another function was forced to carry its failure. That is local victory producing corporate defeat. Then examine authority. If two leaders can redirect the same employee, that employee no longer works by priority. That employee works by politics. Which leader has more influence? Which request is more dangerous to refuse? Which instruction will be remembered during evaluation? Energy that should serve the vision is now being spent navigating personalities. And beneath these structures are private agendas: recognition, control, security, position, succession. These desires may exist in any human organization, but they become destructive when concealed. A person begins protecting visibility instead of results, territory instead of truth, and personal importance instead of corporate progress. Now, do not confuse disagreement with disloyalty. A strong team can challenge an assumption, present new evidence, and question a method while remaining committed to the destination. Conviction is not stubbornness. Stubbornness rejects evidence. Conviction remains anchored in principle while learning from evidence. An unhealthy team does something different. People smile in the meeting, then resist through delay. They withhold information. They become silent when truth is needed and talkative in private conversations afterward. The conflict goes underground, but it does not disappear. So conduct a structural audit, ask 5 questions. What do we say we value? What do we actually fund? What behavior do we celebrate? What contradiction do we tolerate? Who truly possesses final authority? The answers will reveal the operating culture more accurately than any slogan. Power requires limits, and authority requires responsibility. Boundaries do not weaken potential, they protect it. Without boundaries, one department can consume the resources of the whole. One appetite can distort the assignment. One ambition can make the organization serve a personality instead of its purpose. Leaders, align your rewards with the shared result. Remove contradictory instructions. Make handoffs visible so that every function knows what it receives, what it must produce, and where responsibility transfers. Bring conflicts into the light and discuss them around the vision, not around personal accusations. Ask, which choice best serves our agreed destination? That question changes the conversation from who is winning to whether the organization is moving. Now identify one behavior your culture celebrates that may be quietly opposing your declared future. Perhaps it is heroic overwork, isolated performance, constant urgency, or keeping every decision near the top. Name it, examine it, correct it. Enthusiasm cannot preserve alignment by itself. Your policies, authority, and incentives must tell the same truth as your vision. But after these contradictions are exposed, the team needs more than one corrective meeting. It needs a repeated discipline that keeps truth visible, turns evidence into learning, and converts learning into coordinated action. A meeting should not be a container for information. Information can be written, recorded, or distributed before people enter the room. Collective time is too valuable to spend listening to 12 people read what everyone could have read alone. Write this down. A productive meeting does not merely report activity. It restores alignment and produces decisions. Your team needs a recurring rhythm, not one dramatic retreat every year, not an emergency conversation after everything has gone wrong. Alignment must become a discipline, because daily pressure constantly pulls attention away from the destination. This rhythm has 6 movements. First, restate the destination. Begin by reminding the team what future it has accepted responsibility to produce. Why? Because urgent problems are aggressive. If you do not deliberately return to the vision, the latest crisis will quietly become the new mission. Secondly, review the evidence. What happened since the last meeting? What was completed? What changed? What remained stuck? Bring facts, not performances. The meeting is not a courtroom where everyone protects an image. It is a workshop where reality is examined so the organization can improve. Third, compare the result with the expectation. What did we believe would happen? What actually happened? The distance between those 2 answers contains instruction. Do not use evidence to condemn people. Criticism can become information. Failure can become feedback. Ask, does this result reveal a weakness in our plan, a gap in our capability, or an assumption that was never tested? That leads to number 4, surface obstacles and question assumptions. Every cycle requires the team to examine one important belief behind its approach. Why do we believe this method will work? What evidence supports it? What has changed? What might we be refusing to see? Conviction is not stubborn attachment to a method. Conviction remains loyal to purpose and principle while possessing enough security to learn. A strong team does not defend yesterday's method against today's evidence. Fifth, resolve cross-team conflicts. Do not permit an obstacle to travel from meeting to meeting like an honored guest. Identify the accountable owner. Name the decision required. Clarify who must support the work. Set the deadline. If everybody owns the problem, nobody owns the problem. Finally, assign the next decisive actions. Keep the list small enough to govern attention. Connect every action to the current priority. Name the responsible person, the support required, the completion date, and the evidence that will demonstrate success at the next review. Then write it down. Memory is not an accountability system. Reflection without application becomes conversation. Action without reflection repeats avoidable mistakes. But when reflection and action work together, experience becomes wisdom and wisdom improves execution. Do this consistently. Restate the destination. Review the evidence. Compare expectation with result. Question assumptions. Resolve obstacles. Assign the next actions. Everybody say, we will tell the truth, learn from the truth, and act on the truth. That rhythm turns vision into learning, learning into responsibility, and responsibility into movement. But there is still one danger. A rhythm can reveal progress only when the organization measures what truly matters. If you applaud the easiest numbers, your team may become excellent at reporting activity while the destination remains unchanged. Now return to the picture with which we began. Full calendars, long hours, constant meetings, and exhausted people. Those things can be counted, but counting them does not prove the organization has advanced. A team may complete 1,000 tasks and still fail its assignment. Write this down. Activity measures what was done. Progress measures what changed. If your vision names a condition that must be transformed, then progress must show whether that condition is actually changing. Hours worked tell you what effort was invested. Reports submitted tell you what activity was completed. Meetings held tell you how often people gathered, but none of these automatically tells you whether the promised future is becoming real. You need a measurement chain. First, each role must produce a defined output. Secondly, those outputs must connect with the outputs of other roles. Third, the connected outputs must create an organizational result. Finally, that result must benefit the people or purpose named in the vision. Suppose one team produces materials, another distributes them, and another supports the people receiving them. Each function can complete its assignment, but the corporate question remains: did the intended people receive meaningful help? If not, the organization has outputs without impact. This is why disconnected scorecards are dangerous. Marketing reports increased attention. Operations reports lower costs. Finance reports controlled spending. Service reports shorter conversations. Every department looks successful, yet customers are leaving and the vision is weakening. Separate scorecards can create separate realities. The organization, therefore, needs a limited set of shared evidence answering three questions. Are we closer to the future we defined? Where is movement blocked? What must change next? Do not measure everything simply because technology allows you to. More numbers do not always create more truth. Select the evidence that helps the team see, learn, and decide. Now, very important, not all progress becomes visible immediately. Some seasons strengthen systems. Some develop people. Some expose a faulty assumption before it becomes an expensive failure. Some prepare capacity for results that will appear later. A seed beneath the surface is not inactive merely because you cannot yet see a tree. But hidden growth must remain connected to a credible future result. You cannot call every delay preparation forever. Patience and denial are not the same. Patience continues disciplined work while learning from evidence. Denial repeats the same failure, avoids difficult questions, and calls stagnation faithfulness. Delayed results may require endurance. Repeated failure without learning requires correction. Ask every person on your team to complete this sentence. My work advances the vision when this observable result occurs. If they describe only an activity, ask again. What changes because that activity was completed? Who is served? Which shared outcome moves? Accountability is not punishment. Accountability is an agreement to tell the truth about whether collective effort is producing the promised future. Everybody say, we will measure the destination, not merely the busyness. When one definition of success governs every role, people can correct course without losing dignity and cooperate without protecting private scorecards. But the final proof of shared vision is greater than one season's results. The ultimate test is whether the organization can continue making faithful decisions when the original leader is no longer in the room. Now let us apply the final test of leadership. If the founder disappeared tomorrow, would the vision continue? Would it drift? Or would it collapse? Your answer reveals whether you have built a legacy or merely accumulated personal achievement. Achievement depends upon your presence. Legacy continues through principles you have transferred into other people. Some leaders keep every decision close because control feels like strength. Every question returns to their office. Every exception requires their approval. Every problem waits for their voice. This may make the leader appear indispensable, but it makes the institution fragile. Write this down. If everything depends upon you, you have gathered followers, but you have not developed leaders. A mature vision must become shared judgment. That means people do not merely know what the founder decided yesterday, they understand how to make a faithful decision tomorrow. Transfer, therefore, requires more than giving instructions. A leader must make invisible reasoning visible. Tell your people what you notice. Explain which principles govern your judgment. Show them how you weigh evidence. Tell them why you reject an attractive opportunity. Let them hear not only your conclusion, but the path that brought you to it. Then give them responsibility in stages. Begin with clear boundaries. Permit them to decide. Review the result honestly. Correct without humiliation. Increase the responsibility as judgment matures. Do not demand imitation. Principles must remain stable, but methods may change. The emerging leader should not become a copy of the founder. That person must discover how a unique gift serves the larger assignment without replacing its purpose. Personal vision belongs within corporate vision. The larger assignment creates room for many gifts, and those gifts give the assignment reach beyond one personality. So before this day ends, begin an organizational reset. Write the destination in concrete language. Name what must stop. Clarify each role and identify who owns the final decision. Choose the shared evidence that will prove movement. Schedule the recurring alignment meeting. Then identify one person who must begin learning how the vision is interpreted, protected, and applied. Do not wait for a crisis to begin succession. Transfer while you still possess the time to explain, observe, and correct. Now say this aloud. I will not confuse noise with movement. Say, I will not confuse position with contribution. And say, I will not confuse control with leadership. When vision becomes clear, roles become meaningful. When roles become meaningful, people stop competing for importance and begin contributing with confidence. When authority becomes clear, energy leaves politics and returns to purpose. When evidence becomes shared, correction becomes possible. When principles are transferred, the work becomes stronger than the personality that began it. You do not need more exhausted people running in different directions. You need one destination, clearly seen, many gifts, properly placed, decisions, faithfully governed, and progress, honestly measured. A crowd shares space. A committee shares discussion. But a team shares destination, responsibility, and consequence. And when one vision teaches many gifts how to move as one, activity becomes alignment, alignment becomes power, and a group finally becomes a team.